Welcome to Kevin's Corner, where you can find real truth real quick. Today, I want to remind you that salvation is not reserved for those who can explain everything. It is given to those who are willing to believe. In John chapter 7, beginning at verse 40, when the crowd heard Jesus speak, their reactions were divided. Some said, "This truly is the prophet." Others said, "This is the Messiah." And still others pushed back, saying, "Surely the Messiah doesn't come from Galilee, does he?" Oh, they knew the scriptures, and they knew the Messiah would come from Bethlehem, the city of David. But they failed to realize that the one standing before them had indeed been born there, because Jesus had been raised in Nazareth. They assumed they understood his origins, and in doing so, they missed the truth. The problem was not a lack of information. It was a wrong assumption. And that same issue persists today. Many people reject Christ, not because there is no evidence, but because they become tangled in questions they cannot fully resolve. Questions like, how can the Trinity be one God in three persons? And how do God's sovereignty and our human will, our free will, coexist? And why does evil exist? And who were the Nephilim? And where did Cain find a wife? And how does Melchizedek appear without genealogy? Now, these are real questions, but they are not barriers to salvation. God has already said, "For as heaven is higher than the earth, so my ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." Isaiah 55:9. You do not have to understand everything about God to come to him. You only need the humility to believe what he has revealed. And Jesus did not come to remove all tension. He came to reveal truth. And sometimes truth divides. "Don't assume," he said, "that I came to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword." The words of Christ cut through comfort, exposing the human heart. And as the book of Hebrews declares, the word of God is living and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, discerning the thoughts and the intentions of the heart. So the crowd argued theology, and they debated geography, and they analyzed details, and all the while, the Son of God stood right in front of them, offering living water. And the tragedy was that they rejected his offer. John 7:44 says, "Now some of them wanted to seize him, but no one laid hands on him." The officers had been sent to arrest Jesus, and they fully intended to carry out their orders. But when they heard him speak, something stopped them. They returned empty-handed, saying, "No one ever spoke like this man." They were overwhelmed by Christ's authoritative words. The truth he spoke overcame the mission that they had been assigned. And this moment reveals a pattern that echoes throughout history. The world may raise its sword against the people of God, but it never prevails. The church may be attacked, wounded, even martyred, but it is never destroyed. Instead, it multiplies. Like a starfish that regenerates from a severed limb, the Church of Jesus Christ grows under pressure. And what the enemy intends for destruction, God uses for expansion. Persecution does not eliminate the church, it purifies it. And so the crowd in John chapter 7 stood face to face with truth, and they still missed it. They debated it, they questioned the truth, and analyzed it, but they did not surrender to it. And that is still the danger today. It is possible to be near Jesus, to hear his words, to study his teachings, and still never truly receive him, not because of a lack of evidence, but because of a lack of humility. Salvation is not reserved for those who can explain everything. It is given to those who are willing to believe. And the real tragedy is not that God is unclear, it is that many hearts are unwilling. Surely the nations will rage, opposition will rise, and persecution will intensify, but the mission of Christ will not fail. And when the enemy tries to crush the church, God will cause it to grow. When darkness pervades, his light shines all the brighter. Come to him with your questions, but do not allow them to become excuses for unbelief. The real tragedy is not that God is unclear. It is that many hearts are unwilling. His truth is sufficient. His promises are certain. His church is secure. The gates of hell will not prevail against it, because the church rests not on human wisdom, but on the unshakable power of Christ himself. If this sort of material is appealing, helpful to you, please share, like, and subscribe to Kevin's Korner for more biblical teaching that is diligently sought, deliberately taught, and dauntlessly defended. Until next time, live bravely and courageously.